What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Listography. I'm Joe. I'm here with Jason and Kramzer, and we are 1 year away from the Millennium, Will 2K, as I know it, as the year 2000, coming next year. Right now, 1999, and these are our favorite albums of the year before Y2K was going to kill us all. Year, I think, in music. As we had sort of discussed in 98, pop basically had taken over at this point. Rock was dead, still is, but I think officially 98 is probably the year it died. In its place sprung up new metal, Korn, Limp Bizkit, a bunch of kind of lame pop rock adjacent bands like Smash Mouth, Goo Goo Dolls really kind of went to the pop side. Sugar Ray was big. So it's a tough year. It's a tough year if you're a big fan of rock. In music, the sort of big thing, biggest album of the year was Millennium by the Backstreet Boys, which sold 11 million albums in 1 year, which is the most ever in the United States for a single album. You also had Comeback record by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was pretty big. Californication, sort of, there's pretty much your rock album. Also big, Supernatural by Santana, his first number one in 28 years. I don't want to say it's a bad album, but it sort of ushered in the, ushered in the kind of old rock and roll stars, bringing in a bunch of guest stars to sort of modernize their music. Smooth. I don't mind Smooth, but the album, it's not really a Santana album, is it? But it was huge, won 9 Grammys. And the Billboard charts, you had Believe by Cher as the number one song of the year. Another comeback. So you had a couple comebacks from 70s, 80s artists. No Scrubs by TLC was huge. You had Monica, Whitney Houston, Britney Spears, Sixpence None the Richer, and Christina Aguilera, all in the top 10. So another year of the Billboard charts dominated by women. And then after that, you had a whole bunch of crap. The Billboard charts are not pretty in 1999. So I don't know. It's another year. I guess in 99, I was kind of listening to new music. Not really. I kind of didn't like any of these bands or albums or songs. Still don't. So it was hit or miss. What about you guys?
99 missed for me big time. I think it's one of the worst years I've come across. Yeah, my number 4 and 5 spot in my top 5 are albums that, I give only like 4 stars out of 5, which is pretty low for a top 5 for me. Still what I would consider a great album, but, elite stuff, I got it at the top 2, but other than that, I think it's pretty thin. Stuff I like, but few and far between. Maybe one of the worst years I've come across. One of the 3 worst, I'd say, for me personally.
For me, 99 seems to be the year of albums that I used to love that either my taste either evolved away from or they just didn't age very well. In 98, I said that my list looked kind of weak, but as I went through it, it seemed to get stronger because everything was better than I thought it was. The opposite happened in 99, where I was looking at it on paper thinking it might be pretty good. And as I went back and re-listened to things, it was pretty easy to scratch stuff off. That said, I think this top 5, I would take over my 92 or 1990 top 5. So not even the worst of the 90s for me, but yeah, not a super strong year.
What were some of the things you crossed off? Are we talking like Him and Sponge and Buck Cherry and stuff like that?
Well, we're talking like The Distance to Here by Live. Let's see what else. There's a bunch of that kind of stuff. Happiness is a Fish. Blue Green Orange by I Mother Earth.
You had I Mother Earth earlier in the 90s.
Just as a mention, not as an actual on my list.
Gotcha.
Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater, my favorite Dream Theater record. Was really into that at the time, but not really what I'm into anymore. But anyways, the five that I got, managing to hang on and not fall off like some of those other albums. My number five is This Desert Life by Counting Crows. I've also got The Soft Bulletin by Flaming Lips. Between the Bridges by Sloan, my second favorite Sloan album, my favorite by them still to come. I've got Summer Teeth by Wilco, but my winner by a mile, an easy victory for When the Pawn by Fiona Apple. I think, I had her on my list with Tidal a few years prior. Really strong debut, really good songs, great singing. And I think the thought was like, yeah, great debut. Who is this promising young artist? And then she released this, and it's just like, oh, okay, we're dealing with one of the all-time greats here. Just phenomenal record, great songwriting, great performances. The production from John Bryan is flawless. Just super good record. I don't know what else to say if you haven't heard it. I mean, she was in the news a lot this year with Fetch the Bolt Cutters and her infamous 10 from Pitchfork. And if Fetch the Bolt Cutters is a 10, then this is a 20. It's just absolutely amazing. I like Fetch the Bolt Cutters. I think it's really good, but doesn't touch When the Pawn, my favorite album of 1999.
Very cool. Very cool. Wow. Well, we've got the same list except for one album, which is pretty crazy. I have When the Pawn as a nominee. I have This Desert Life by Counting Crows as a nominee. I've got Soft Bulletin by the Flaming Lips as a nominee. Before I get to the next two, again, not a whole lot that I had to cut, but Cantino Sessions by Death in Vegas, The Fragile by 9 Inch Nails, and probably a surprise, probably my top 10 for 99. I'll get some shit for this because a lot of people hate this artist, but the debut by Dido, No Angel, I actually really, really, really like. I don't get why some people shit on her. Or Jewel. I love these two artists in the mid to late 90s. My runner-up is, this was close, but my runner-up is going to be Keep It Like a Secret by Built to Spill. But my winner is Wilco with Summer Teeth. Probably my favorite Wilco album. I think Yankee Hotel is kind of overrated, and I think this is incredibly underrated. It's got just amazing, sweet pop rock melodies. The harmonies are great. I don't think the production gets talked about enough with Wilco, especially on these albums, and this one in particular. And Tweedy is a really good songwriter, great lyricist. He's got like this stern, cute kind of nature to his lyrics. I've never been crazy about him as a vocalist, but I think in these early albums, the character of the writing really comes out through him. Can't Stand It, She's a Jar, ELT, I'm Always in Love. These are just amazing, like Beatles-esque. Like if the Beatles were of this age in the late 90s, these are the kind of songs I think they'd be writing. I think this is by far their best. And the production, like I was just saying, so underrated. A lot of like kind of big band symphony kind of notes in it with bells and some strings, piano, organs, but they're real sharp and they don't ever sweep in and take over the whole sound. They're just kind of like little plucks here and there. Really nice punctuation on the songwriting. There's not really a bad song on here, and it's got great flow and just great changes in tempo for a start to finish listen. It's got, with Can't Stand It and She's a Jar and then Shot in the Arm, you get 3 tracks out of the way with a nice slow build, and then I feel like it really just takes off from there. How to Fight Loneliness is really cool and kind of brings it down. I'm surprised Jason didn't have this as number 1, but I think he would agree that it's a fantastic record. And I bash Wilco a little bit on this channel, not a whole lot, just because I think they're a little overrated, especially among our group of friends in our community, like the second coming of Christ. And I saw Wilco live and they weren't that good when I saw them, and I thought Jeff Tweedy was kind of a tool, but there's no denying some of these albums are just amazing. The writing is really incredible. This one is probably my favorite. So Summer Teeth by Wilco, my favorite of 1999.
I'm a little upset that you'd have Wilco at number 1, Kramzer, but another disappointment. But 1999 is 1,000 times better than 98 in my opinion. I had lots of stuff I had to cut this year, including Dr. Dre's 2001, This Desert Life by Counting Crows, Lost and Gone Forever by Guster. I had Showbiz by Muse just off the list, Neon Ballroom by Silverchair, even the Slim Shady LP by Eminem. So I thought it was a pretty good year in general. Maybe not the peaks of some of the other years of the 90s for me, but my top 5 is going to be runners up, Win the Pawn by Fiona Apple. By far my favorite Fiona Apple record. I think it's phenomenal. I'm always a little disappointed by her newer stuff because I kind of just want her to remake this album over and over and over again because it's great. Also runners up, I have the Unauthorized Diary of Reinhold Messner from Ben Folds 5. Not quite as, pleasing to the ear as Whatever and Ever Amen was. A little more experimentation, but still great album. Love Don't Change Your Plans for Me, probably my favorite Ben Folds 5 song. Also on the list, my favorite Foo Fighters album, There's Nothing Left to Lose, sort of forgotten about in their catalog, but I think as far as an entire album, track by track, I think it's their best. All the deep cuts on here I think are really good. Runner up, also, Jason mentioned that he used to like it. I still do. Metropolis Part 2 by Dream Theater. Love this album. A little cheesy, yes, but the playing is phenomenal, and I really like John Petrucci a lot. The story, it's fine. It's nice that it connects all the songs. I could probably go without some of the little interludes and stuff, but the playing more than makes up for it. But my number 1 is going to be Euphoria Morning by Chris Cornell. Always really loved this one. I think his voice, other than maybe All Night Thing by Temple of the Dog, I think his voice sounds just so good on this album. A little softer, more stripped down. Almost, kind of reminds me of Jeff Buckley at times. And I think in general, he actually has a song in here dedicated to Jeff Buckley. Chris Cornell, I think this, the focus is really on him, on his voice, and a lot of acoustic guitar and piano and keyboards, and really just sort of emphasizes him, and just I think he nails it. Follow My Way and When I'm Down. I mean, just the way what Chris Cornell sounds like. He's a phenomenal singer, and just the way sort of you hear him in a different way without sort of the heavy guitars and the heavy bass and the Black Hole and Fell on Black Days. This is a little more lighter. Really gets a chance to show off. And I think it's just really pretty. I think it's a great album. And I was always disappointed with Audioslave because his voice changed so much between this and their debut. And this is kind of the Chris Cornell that I always wanted and always sort of held up as the best. So it's a pretty easy winner, I think, for 99. Chris Cornell, Euphoria Morning. Big flop, sort of disappointing, but I think it's great. Criminally underrated album of 1999.
I'm glad you got that one in there. That was in the running for me. I think it's a phenomenal record. If people don't know it, the songwriting on it is so good. Some of his chord choices and everything about it, really awesome.
Yeah, great production, great playing. Just not, if you don't know it, if you only know Audioslave and Soundgarden, but you like sort of the softer, less grungy stuff, definitely check this out because it's a completely different side, I think, of Chris Cornell. Great stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I like Soundgarden and I like Audioslave, but I'll take Temple of the Dog and this album probably as the best featuring of him solo.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree. Maybe we'll have to do that some other day with a Chris Cornell listography, but that's it for 99. We're done with the 20th century, guys. We're moving on to the 21st century.
I think as I've been saying, better than I anticipated. Probably like it more than the 80s. 70s still the winner by far, but I think the 90s are closer to the 70s than I thought going into it.
I like the aughts and the 10s more than the 90s, but I can safely say now that I would put the 90s over the 80s.
80s for life over here, but the 90s solid. Sort of starts to tail off a little bit, and then the aughts are just debacle. But we'll get into that next week, I guess. I don't even know what our show schedule is. We haven't discussed doing the 90s recap, but that will be coming soon enough. Like the video, leave your top 5s, top 10s, top 25s. Some guy keeps leaving like his top 100s. Keep that up. We love to see the comments. Like the video, subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sometimes we like to give previews, little spoilers for what's coming next. So check those out. And we'll see you in 2000.